So welcome to this presentation on building your ideal career within postgraduate study. The courses at the Belfast School of Art, which we'll be talking about today, are the courses I've just introduced to you: the MFA Photography and DL, the MA in Animation, the Masters of Science in Fashion and Textile Retail Management, the Masters in UX and Service Design. The benefits of studying at Ulster University are excellent conversion courses if you want to change career, to get a competitive edge in employment, personal fulfillment, taught by experts, supported study environment, academic and professional qualifications, and great links with industry bodies and employers. The quantifiable benefits are £8,000, the extra average amount of a postgraduate earns compared to graduate colleagues, £266,000 in terms of the extra average amount a master's graduate can expect to earn over a lifetime in employment. 20% postgraduates progress 20% faster than graduates in professional settings. 90.7% of UK full-time leavers at postgraduate level working in professional occupations compared to 72.6% for total UK undergraduate leavers. So Ulster's offer for postgraduate study. Ulster offers flexible modes of study, full-time, part-time and distance learning. There are flexible study levels from short courses to postgraduate certificates and postgraduate diplomas, masters and masters of science. Applying to Ulster. So you apply to Ulster at ulster.ac.uk, and when you enter that platform, all of the links will be there for you to intuitively follow the application process. There is no official closing date for most courses, and applications are rolling. However, course places are limited, so apply early to secure your place if you already intend to apply for a course. You can apply for multiple courses, although separate applicants are required. Make sure you fully complete the application, and if in doubt, please contact us and we will be happy to help you. So courses start at $6,270. There's a flexible payment options are available. There's a 10% alumni discount. There's a 5% discount for upfront payment, and loans of up to $5,500 are also available. All of that information and resources are at those clickable links to the university's main webpage. Postgraduate course facilities within the Belfast School of Art specifically are dedicated animation and photography studios and fashion and textile workshops, access to on-site specialist technicians within the Belfast School of Art, use of industry standard photography equipment, including cameras, tripods, lenses and printers, purpose-built animation workstations, access to industry standard tools, Adobe Suite, Autodesk Creative Suite, XBrush, Unreal, Toon Boom. We have fabrication, including 3D printing, photogrammetry 3D printing, and photogrammetry. We have virtual reality headsets and technical support, and we are world-leading industrial partnerships as well. So now I want to hand over to Ken Grant, who is the course director for the MFA in photography.
Thanks very much, Sherry, and hello everyone. It's great to be able to talk a little bit.
I can't hear your audio. Sorry.
My audio's on. Can you hear me now?
Yes. I can hear you.
My audio's on. Yeah. I'll just keep on going. I think the audio's on. Great to be able to talk a little bit about the photography courses, which have grown into two pathways over the last decade. So now we offer an online or distance learning course, as well as a traditional campus-based course. I think I'll start by suggesting something of why I came to Belfast, which might be helpful. I came to Belfast in 2013 to work with people who I see as my contemporaries, people who are active in the industry, active on all sorts of creative levels within the different dimensions of photography. They exhibit, they publish, they work with education, they work with collaboration, they work with a range of approaches, which in some ways typifies the breadth of experiences that people engaged with photography deal with today. I think it's probably true to say that our students come from very, very diverse backgrounds. They come from international backgrounds as well these days, as well as that, we enjoy a lot of contact with students in the wider island, some of whom go on to make really quite substantial shifts in their own practice, but also in the way that photography is understood in Europe and beyond. This is just an opening screen of a number of different students who we've worked with over the last decade. And I suppose in the first pass, you realise there's a range of approaches. There's a range of subjects, there's a range of concerns that people work with, whether that's Jill Quigley's work on the top right-hand side, the Cottages of Quigley's Point, which is a light touch, but also a really deeply thought through response to our own upbringing in the west of Ireland and the kind of narratives within the land that exist heretofore. Whether that's with somebody like Niamh Smith in the centre at the top, who's just been shortlisted for the Zurich Portrait Prize at the National Gallery in Dublin. Or Tommy Weir, somebody who comes back from his career as a teacher himself on the bottom right to make a piece of work which is really personally driven, as was Simon Birch, and Gianluca Gallucci on the bottom right, who's an international student who came to study via the distance learning programme. Very diverse, very, very particular approaches to photography, which is what we'd welcome. There's no one way of making a piece of work with us, and we facilitate, I suppose, the development of a voice, an authorial voice in the student. That's really what we try and do, and try and distinguish the kind of concerns, the contexts in which your work would exist. I think the kind of backgrounds that students come from may be professional photography backgrounds. They may be students who've come out of a degree quite recently, but they might also be people who are in that process of changing a career, as Sherry mentioned in the introduction earlier. The idea of bringing those skills, bringing those sensibilities, bringing those investments from former lives into the course are as valid for us as they are with people who've just left a photography undergraduate course and move straight through in that fluid way that quite often happens in life. I think one of the great, I suppose, benefits of being in Belfast for us is that we have the obligation in some ways, but also the pleasure of bringing in different voices into the city and taking our voices outside of Belfast into the wider world. So the partnerships that we've created over the years, both formal university partnerships in the way that you would expect, but also the kind of informal, very necessary network relationships that we've built through our own professional careers we bring into the courses are really important to us. So for example, here you can see at the top centre, you can see Peter Bilibrisky, a photographer from Hanover, who came over to do a 2-week block and a masterclass with our students. On the right-hand side, you can see the Curling Gallery in Dublin, who we have collaborated with and who represent some of our staff and make a very clear play at pushing photography out into the wider world through the art fair world. Or somebody like Kieran O'Garnell down the bottom left-hand side of the screen here, whose publication on the left-hand side in the centre was the prize winner of the Mac Photo Book Award. The installation you can see of the work here is from Unseen Festival in Amsterdam a few years ago. The idea of figuring out those directions for people, enabling the process by which they start to build an independent practice is really, really central to what we do. So there's long-term engagement with ideas. There's long-term projects that people initiate and research early on and then start to refine and move through, contextualize, consolidate, whether they consolidate those works as publications, as wall-based pieces, or as something maybe a little bit more inventive, innovative, and even transient in the way that we work in the world today. These voices start to become really quite particular and quite singular as you move through the course. We also collaborate with some of our partners, both internationally, organizations like SPE, the American education organization that brings us partnerships across states. We also collaborate very, very much closer to home. We're all people who've contributed as staff to the running and to the directorship of organisations in Ireland, like Belfast Exposed and the Gallery of Photography in my case. So the idea of building fluent and useful and purposeful directions for students as they're moving through is incredibly significant. As is the need to bring in important voices and voices which are going to provide certain strategies that dovetail with the outside world. So we work quite regularly with publishers. We work very, very often with curators, people who develop some of the ideas that have become really quite significant in the way that the world of photography has now shaped itself over the last few decades. So that the publishing world is a significant part of our friendship ring. The idea of working in certain kinds of collaborative processes with festivals, with organisations to support grant applications, and I suppose ways of developing ideas around your own particular route into those worlds. These are things that we do in collaboration, whether those collaborations are in Ireland, which we've done with some of our partners from the Royal College of Art in The Hague, or maybe they're further afield, like Reggio Emilia in Italy, where we've collaborated with the photo festival there, but also with photo schools in northern Italy. The idea of creating a voice independently is one thing. The idea of developing networks and useful routes to take your work and sustain a practice into a long-term career is absolutely our obligation. I mentioned very, very quickly at the start the distance learning course, which I suppose most of us have had a very close engagement with in one way or another over the last 18 months. We set the course up quite a long time ago now, though, and so we were, I suppose, early to the process in that respect. We see it as something which is at once very particular in the sense that we can have conversations and work with students internationally. This morning I was interviewing students from the UAE, and last week was with students in India. But also we see it as something that may very well become part of a hybrid conversation. If students are working in the field, making work, that support network is there because I can speak to students when they're in the middle of their process, whether they're in Ireland or whether they're much further afield. It's become a significant part of our conversation. I suppose just to finish, I'd say that when I mentioned the idea of an authorial voice, I tried to suggest that students would have a very particular route that they wanted to work with. They'd photograph the things and work with the subjects that were important to them, that were meaningful to them, and in some respects are the kind of things that they just can't ignore. That's been borne out really over the last decade or more with the presence that our students are now taking in the wider world. And whether that's Rich Gilligan photographing the actor Saoirse Ronan, whether that's Brian Newman being commissioned by the Gallery of Photography in the bottom left to make a piece of work about the border and some of the ongoing conversations around the border in Ireland, or that's Richard Wade photographing his wrestling matches in the States as he moved on to build a career for himself in New York. I think what probably ask you to consider is that everyone has their own particular route through, everyone has their own particular journey, and the debate, the seminars, the conversations that we have around photography are as valid for one person with one subject as they are for the rest of us. So we really enjoy the idea of working through individuals with their individual projects. We really enjoy the idea of bringing these different voices together and bringing, I think in some respects, a whole new conversation about what photography in Ireland actually is at the moment. So I'll leave it there, but I'm here to answer questions at any point. If there's anything that crops up that people like to take further, I'll be very happy to talk. In the meantime, thanks, Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you so much. And so the next course we're going to talk about now is the MA in Animation, and I'd like to welcome Sarah Dargy to the presentation.
Hi there.
Hi, Sarah.
So I'm the MA course director for the MA Animation. So the MA Animation has only been running for a couple of years at Ulster, but it's great. It's gathering a lot of kind of speed and momentum. And we've been working kind of quite closely with the MA in Games Design as well to develop a really great kind of program, which is industry focused, but led directly from the students' own perspective and areas of kind of practice. There is an online showreel which you can access via the link there, or alternatively you can go into YouTube and search for Animation at Ulster to see a series of student work, past showcases and trailers for individual movies, films and work that the students have been creating as well. So the MA Animation course at Ulster tries to support a range of animation principles and practices from 2D, 3D and experimental. We have a range of kind of staff with various interests and specialities which can actually help support students who want to explore individual areas of the course. So we're not a 2D or a 3D course. It very much comes down to what the individual students want to get out of their year on the actual MA Animation programme. We're a very industry-driven programme and we use industry standard tools, pipelines, software and hardware, as well as expertise which are embedded throughout the curriculum. So all of the staff on teaching on the programme have had both industry experiences and in addition to kind of teaching experience, and we work very closely with industry partners to align things like working practices, current softwares, workshops and developments within the programme as well. We also aim to increase students' understanding of client and professional relationships within the field of animation. And we try and produce like graduates from the MA programme which are industry ready and are aware of the kind of challenges and also have a bit of experience with what the industry within the animation can bring. So we both try to promote creativity as well as the potential employment and industry practices. So the MA animation structure, I'm going to run through a full-time structure, but we offer a part-time programme as well for students that want to maybe have other commitments or maybe currently working as well. So in semester one, we have two modules. The first one is called Timing for Animation. And Timing for Animation is a very creative module where we go right back to the basics of what the animation principles are, what the animation practices are, and really help students to develop their kind of skills and approaches within animation. This is a particularly useful module for students who maybe come from an area outside animation. So we have students that come from areas such as architecture, illustration, graphic design, and web development as well. So even if you're interested, if you have a creative streak but have never done animation before, you're still very welcome to apply for the MA Animation programme, because we will teach you from the ground up and help you build on skills and help you to determine what area maybe within animation you wish to focus on. The second module in that is Design, Research and Development. So this is a module which is run in conjunction with the MA Games Design course, and it's helping students to focus on how to write academic papers and apply for conferences within the field of kind of animation and games and visual effects. So even though it's a research module, it's very practical, it's very hands-on, and it's got a very determined output to help students develop their practice or areas of their own study or kind of independent artistic research as well. In semester two, we have a module called Animation Production, which is very much geared towards looking at animation industry and pipelines. In that module, we combine a series of, combine a group work task within the class, but with industry mentors. So you're working on either a live brief within the industry on one of the local studios, or you're working on a simulated brief and you get an industry partner and mentor to help you and guide you throughout that whole process, which gives you a really good insight into what working within animation is like, and also the kind of collaboration, the teamwork, and the roles that are involved. The second module in semester 2 is called Acting for Animation, and that's really building on skills to kind of promote the appeals of the animation, the strength of your animation, the audience reaction, and again that kind of personal approach to what style of animation, what kind of approaches do you want to take in animation, how do you want to develop your practice in a way that can make it effective and engaging and appealing. In the third semester, we run what's called the major project, and in this students are asked to kind of identify an area within their practice that they want to become a specialist in. So we've had students doing things like making a trailer for a game. We've had students building game levels. We've had students making short animations. We've had students that maybe want to focus on a very technical aspect, such as lighting or rigging, or students that just want to focus on like either 2D or 3D animation itself. So it's a very flexible module that is there to help students determine what they want to do, where their areas of speciality is, and how we can help them market themselves and promote it to show the wider world, like, this is who they are, this is what I'm all about. At the end of that, we also have an end of year showcase. So we'll either have an online or an in-person kind of showcase of work, demonstrating skills, showing all the animations, the final outputs of work, and it's a really great celebration of everybody's achievement throughout that year. So animation is quite a broad area, and it covers quite a lot of different careers. And the idea of having this kind of flexible approach within software and approaches within Emmy animation is to kind of help students determine which career they want to go to, and really help them hone those skills and narrow down that field of where they want to go. So the kind of things that we cover in the course are things like pre-production. So we look at things like concept art, storyboard art, how to design, pre-visualizations. We look at the production stage in great detail, which is very much looking at, animation itself, prop environment artists, character artists, riggers, VFX artists, and look developments. And we also cover the post-production stages, which is looking at things like compositing, color grading, VFX, combining animation and film as well. So there's a whole load of things that can be covered. I mean, because we've got a really good range of staff with industry experience, we're able to kind of offer these as different kind of independent pathways the students can take to kind of explore throughout their kind of program. In terms of kind of entry requirements, we are, like I say, we're very flexible in where we take students from with regards to their background. So we tend to look for a 2-2 or above, typically from a design-related discipline, but it doesn't always have to be from animation. Like I say, we've had very successful graduates from like graphic design, architecture, web design, games programming, and things like that as well. Typically, the kind of approach is that we'll ask you to have a kind of a very informal interview with kind of course staff to find out if the course is a good fit for you, and if if you're actually going to enjoy the course, and if it covers things that you'd be interested in doing. Additionally, we would ask for kind of a portfolio. So all applicants are expected to show a portfolio which demonstrates things like creative ability, design potential, motivation for undertaking the subject, understanding of designs. It could be principles of things like form, color, composition, strong drawing skills, or very strong technical skills, understanding things like, lighting and rigging and texturing and so on like that as well. And also just so that we can determine if it's a good fit for the program or not. And I think that is very much a kind of a very whistle-stop rundown. I do recommend, if you're interested in applying, to do have a look, search for Animation Ulster on YouTube and have a look at the wonderful graduate work that's been produced there before. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to get in touch. We're a very friendly bunch. We do also have quite a good social aspect on the course, in that we have kind of every Friday we've been getting guest lecturers in to do talks and workshops across both the MA and the undergraduate programs. And we've got a really good animation society that organise things like going to like the Dingle Animation Film Festival, the Dublin Animation Film Festival as well. So we're very much geared towards promotion between the years, very, very social kind of groups, and that kind of interactive teamwork and preparing you for industry at the same time. So yeah, so if you, any questions, please feel free to get in touch, and definitely check out the work that's been on YouTube from previous students as well. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was fantastic. Thank you. And so next to the presentation, I'd like to welcome Maureen Collins, who is the MSc Fashion and Textile Retail Management Course Director.
Hi, yeah, I'm Course Director for the Fashion and Textile Retail Management Masters. And really this course is about looking at the industry of fashion and textiles, which is a massive industry. Sometimes it's sort of perceived as this kind of frivolous thing that people that are into fashion, but really it's part of the fabric of our lives and part of our history. So we really look at the industry as it is now and investigate where you might position yourself within that industry. So you might have aspirations to be an entrepreneur working within an organization trying to change it, or you might be an entrepreneur trying to set up your own business, or you might just be someone who wants to advocate for change, who wants to campaign about some aspect of the industry, because we know that the industry has been in a state of flux. There are a lot of things happening. Even recent events have had a major impact on the industry and maybe moved it forward 10 years in the last year. So it's very much a practical, exploratory, diagnostic course that allows you to explore aspects of the business, get an overarching view of what's happening in the industry, and see perhaps where your area of interest lies. One of the key things that we have as part of the course are our industry partnerships. We work with people who are maybe just a few years down the line, or with large companies. They come in and act as mentors. They also give us the opportunities to sort of give you industry challenges. So we learn through practical exploration of the industry. I'm just moving that on. Yeah, and we've got a course overview here. I'll need to put on my glasses for this one, even though I should know this off by heart, and I do. So it's a one-year course, so it starts in September and ends in September, and we have 3 semesters. And semester 1 starts sort of about the 3rd week in September and ends usually about the 1st week in December. So it's 12 weeks of delivery, and then you have time to sort of do your work. And we have 2 modules within that, a smaller and a larger module. So the design thinking is the smaller module, and the main module there is the perspectives and practices in retail. Design thinking is really about that whole process of expansive thinking, about looking at the problems, looking at the industry, looking at some of the issues within the industry, and seeing how you might start to identify, explore, and come up with solutions for those. And then that also supports perspectives and practices in retail, which is your 40 credit module, and that's run by the business school, and that's sort of the marketing, branding side, customer, consumer behavior aspect of the industry, understanding those key tenets of how people behave and why they behave. And it also looks at some of the other areas of the industry, such as supply chains and how we add value as part of that retail process. Then in second semester, which usually runs from about the 3rd week in January right through to, depending on when Easter falls, for another 12 weeks. And again, same setup, you have 2 modules. Your larger module is the Fashion and Textile Retail Management Concept to Customer, which builds on what you do in the 1st semester, but really is that practical engagement with the industry. So we bring in industry speakers, we give you industry challenges. So you look at the history, the data, the journals, but you also apply those to current situations, and you deal with real employers and real situations. The answers aren't already there, you're finding the answers. And as part of that process, you're also discovering where your area of interest lies and where you really want to position yourself within the industry. And alongside that is the shorter module, or the smaller module, which is the creative entrepreneurship, which again is 20 credits. And it builds again on the design thinking, that expansive, looking at problems, how can we solve them? And actually takes you through the process of starting up your own business, or perhaps innovating an existing business, or creating almost like an outlier within an existing business that can campaign or advocate for change. And each of those, that brings you up to 120 credits. And then into 3rd semester, which is our summer semester, which officially starts in July, but really we are prepping you and priming you for that final master's project all the way through. And by the end of this stage that you're looking at, you should have a good idea, and with lots of support from us, of where your area of interest lies. And we want you to do a master's project that will not only contribute something to the industry, but will position you so that you can move forward into the next stage that will be useful for you moving forward. And that, the hand in for that is usually about the first or second week of September, and then that your course will be complete in October. So that's a bit of a whistle stop. We do have some videos about the course on the postgraduate page on Ulster, but also on Ulster's YouTube channel. There are a couple of videos where students who've completed the course talk about their experience. And of course, you can contact me and come to me for questions. I've got an overview there of the full-time options. So that's really just what I went through: September, semester 1, semester 2, and semester 3. So it is quite action-packed, but it is interesting. We look at everything. So the whole idea of curation. So in the image that you're seeing, it's this idea you don't have to be, although we probably about half and half students come from that kind of making, that fashion and textile business, and they are makers and creators. But equally, we get people who want to reposition themselves, people who are interested in fashion and come from a completely different background, but are motivated by an interest in fashion. So you may be a maker or a designer, but you may be a curator, you may be a communicator. So there are paths for everyone within this course. It's very much an exploratory course where you determine the final outcome. I've moved on to the next one. So that's
Thank you so much, Maureen.
my chance to leave. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Thank you so much. And now I would like to welcome Brian Dixon, who is the course director for the MA UX and Service Design.
Thanks very much, Cherie, and I'm delighted to be introducing this MA in UX and Service Design. As you can see, the ambition is to prepare you for a creative career in user experience service design, or design-like practice. In terms of the content of the program, that breaks down to a focus on the fundamentals of product and service design as a process and round. There's also a broader overview provided of design thinking in general, its principles and practices. And then what happens thereafter is there's a breakdown into the individual areas. So you get access to UX in particular, service design in particular, and design research is a dedicated activity. A core principle that we're seeking to promote is collaborative ways of working. So it's not about being an individual designer or an individual practitioner. It's about exploring how you work as part of a team. There's a big part of the program which focuses on that in particular. And ultimately, the aim is that you're future-proofed in your career going forward, so that you're equipped with the ability to navigate how, and to be alert to, how practice is changing into the future in the domains outlined. I should highlight that this is the first year of this particular master's, and as some colleagues have sort of indicated, the program will be very much defined by the cohort that arrives in September and the needs and ambitions that that cohort has. I see it sort of as the baby of this suite of programs, young, energetic, and a lot of room for growth, and I'm very excited by that prospect, myself and the team. In terms of the arc of the curriculum, semester 1 really focuses in on those principles and practices that I talked about when I gave the overview. And I suppose it's about short projects, it's about working quite quickly week to week, taking up a new focus each week, and then moving on quickly to the next, and progressively building, I suppose, a scaffold for all these disciplines such that you may have an understanding of where your interest lies. A lot of the discussions I've had with prospective candidates is that they're interested in UX in particular. But I suppose the benefit of taking up this program is that you get a sense of how UX, user experience, the creation of digital products, connects also to the design of services and broader systems thinking principles. So design not just of a single thing, but a series of design outcomes and how they all connect to each other, which is a service design perspective. In semester 1, that's also buttressed by a historical and theoretical aspect, which requires that you write an essay. It's not a big dissertation, but certainly requires writing. Then in semester 2, the focus moves on not to the general but to the particular, and you begin to choose what you see your specialist practice to be. So you would be separating out at that point into groups, which would be looking at whether it's UX or service design or design thinking, and working on a series of group projects, most likely in 3-week or 6-week cycles, and beginning to understand what the processes look like to take you through a larger project. So all those principles that you learned, literally putting them into practice. And then alongside that, there's a creative entrepreneurship module, which is shared with some other programs. So there's an opportunity for collaboration and I suppose shared learning to occur across disciplines at that stage. And we'll be very much looking forward to seeing how that progresses. Then in semester 3, as in common with all the other programs that have already presented, there is a focus on the individual major project. And as some others have already said, we will at that point hopefully have equipped you to know quite easily and readily what it is you want to do. So it won't be a matter of coming around to June and suddenly have to decide on a personal brief. We will be encouraging you from the moment you enter in September to begin to ask yourself, what is the domain or the context that I would really like to focus on? What might a project look like in that? And to constantly be asking questions around that. And we'll be providing workshops, particularly in semester 2, which will support you there. 2 things I suppose I should flag on this particular slide before I do move on is that we obviously expect that there be certainly in design for those that apply, but it's not necessarily required that you come from a design background. We expect a rich mix, those who have obviously a design background, have worked in design industries potentially, but equally those who come from outside, so potentially sociologists, care workers, people that have an interest in asking questions around what design can do for their field or area of expertise and are looking to upskill in particular aspects of design. So we're very open to that. I'll move on to the next slide and yes, highlight what the particular areas might be that you would be employed in. So obviously relating to those strands I've highlighted, there will be a high degree of employability in UX and interaction. And in terms of the job titles you'd be looking at here, it would be UX designer, UI designer, potentially a visual designer, and also a design researcher. And design research is a key skill that is increasingly sought in relation to the world of UX. Service design, it's not as prominent in Northern Ireland, but certainly in the south of England and in America, it's a growing discipline. Dublin too, actually, there is a lot of service design work in Dublin at the moment. In organizations, I suppose, that you wouldn't normally think of as being equipped with a design arm. So Accenture, for example, has a massive innovation hub and they require service designers. Innovation there obviously is picked up on in the next professional path you might take, which is innovation designer, and increasingly prominent title as well. And then you come into things which are a little stranger and perhaps not mentioning design, but certainly requiring the creative skills that you get through this master's program, things like solution architects and so on. Very inventive and creative titles in their own right, I would say. And then obviously beyond that, there is the potential for further study. And I believe a program such as this is a really good space in which to explore how you might, or what rather you might wish to look at if you were considering a practice-based PhD. And it's giving you that ability, that skills base, certainly in terms of practice-based research, that would allow you to take that next step and to be ready for further study at that higher doctoral level. So what's required in terms of entry requirements? In keeping with the other programs, it's a 2 or above in a design-related discipline or something that's comparable. I did say obviously we will be welcoming people from other areas, and when it comes to that particular issue, then what we ask of them is that they make a case for how they feel they're able and ready to enter this design-specific masters. And we are open, as I say, to exploring that with individual candidates, and it will require an interview with the course director or other staff members. We also require a portfolio if your background is design, and then, as I've just mentioned, an alternative written submission which outlines what your plans are with regards to master's study. I will leave it there, but I would very much encourage any potential candidates to get in touch with me directly. I'll be very happy to answer questions and, as I've said, have a conversation with you before any submission goes in, if preferred, because it will really allow you to see if it's the right program for you. So to conclude, I'll pass over to Cherie Driver. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much. So just to kind of final few slides just to complete the presentation, and just to say that the Belfast School of Art is a long-standing in terms of its situation and buildings on York Street in Belfast. We have a fully established studios, workshops and IT resources and provisions. However, adjacent on the site on Belfast campus, we have this extensive redevelopment. So really for any of you coming from a broader national or international basis, just to make that really clear. So we have this massive new Belfast campus development just beside us on site there on York Street. And the new Belfast campus remains on schedule to open its doors from September 2021. Now, if you are currently an undergraduate student in Jordanstown, then all the courses transferring from Jordanstown campus to the new Belfast campus are highlighted on the ulster.ac.uk website. To enable operational simplicity and, as a result, maximum responsiveness to any changes in COVID regulation during semester 1, the vast majority of teaching will take place on the Jordanstown campus. But from the beginning of semester 2, lectures, tutorials and all other teaching will transfer to the Belfast campus. So that's if you're a student in Jordanstown and you have an awareness of what's happening in Jordanstown and Belfast. But actually all the programs that we've spoken today about are centrally located on the Belfast campus in the Belfast School of Art, which is long running and well established. And there will be precise timetabling will be provided to all students at the beginning of semester 1 as usual. And what's been quite fantastic about the Belfast School of Art in the last academic year is that we've been able to maintain and have our studios open and accessible to our students in a kind of ordered and structured way, and workshops and IT resources have also been available. So the Belfast campus has been open and operational within all the health and safety guidelines within the university. And so just to say then, in relation to COVID-19, we are currently making preparations to welcome new students for the academic year. And that kind of studio-based access and environment has worked very well for us at the Belfast School of Art, and we'll be continuing to operate in that way. We will do so safely and in line with the government guidelines, and we will keep up to date as the situation changes by visiting ulster.ac.uk/coronavirus. And then just to say, if you have any questions or you wish to reach out and contact us, all of our kind of contact details are available through the University of Ulster's postgraduate course links. So if you have any questions regarding postgraduate study, please don't hesitate to get out and to get in touch with us on those contact details provided. And you can sign up for our webinars at the ulster.ac.uk postgraduate events link, as you can see here. So with that, I would just like to thank all the course directors and programs from Belfast School of Art for presenting for us today. And I'd like to thank you all for watching this video. And you're all very, very welcome to reach out and contact any of us if you have any further questions in relation to postgraduate study at the Belfast School of Art or in Belfast more broadly. Thank you very much for watching today. Thank you.